April 28, 1988, Aloha Airlines Flight 243 is taxiing on the runway in Hilo, Hawaii. On board are 89 passengers and 6 crew members, all looking forward to a short, routine flight to Honolulu. The weather is perfect, the skies are clear, and everything seems completely normal. But in less than 30 minutes, this flight will become one of the most terrifying and miraculous stories in aviation history. This is the story of how a plane literally fell apart in midair, and the incredible heroism that saved 94 lives. The aircraft was a Boeing 737-200, a workhorse of the skies. This particular plane, named Queen Liliuokalani, had been in service for 19 years. It was a veteran, having completed nearly 90,000 flight cycles. A flight cycle is one takeoff and one landing. Why is this important? Because short-haul flights like the ones Aloha Airlines operated in Hawaii meant this plane experienced far more takeoff and landing cycles and the pressurization changes that come with them than a typical long-haul aircraft. Each cycle puts stress on the fuselage. Think of it like bending a paperclip back and forth. Eventually, it weakens and breaks. This constant stress was creating tiny, invisible cracks in the plane's metal skin, a silent threat growing with every flight. The flight took off without a hitch. Captain Robert Schornsteimer and First Officer Madeline Mimi Tompkins were in control. As the plane climbed to its cruising altitude of 24,000 feet, passengers were relaxing, enjoying the stunning views of the Pacific Ocean below. The seatbelt sign had just been turned off. 3 flight attendants, Clarabelle Lansing, Michelle Honda, and Jane Satotomito, were beginning their beverage service. At approximately 1:48 p.m., just 23 minutes into the flight, a small crack in the fuselage near the front of the plane gave way. Suddenly, with a loud bang that passengers described as a gunshot, a small section of the roof tore open. In an instant, the situation escalated catastrophically. Explosive decompression ripped through the cabin. A huge section of the fuselage, an 18-foot-long piece of the roof and sides, from just behind the cockpit to the front of the wings, was torn away, exposing the passengers to the sky. The wind roared into the cabin. At over 300 miles per hour, the temperature plummeted to freezing. Debris flew everywhere. Anyone not buckled in was in grave danger. Flight attendant Clarabelle Lansing, who was standing in the aisle collecting drink cups, was tragically pulled from the aircraft. Her body was never recovered. Passengers watched in horror as the sky appeared where the ceiling had been moments before. Flight attendant Michelle Honda was thrown to the floor, suffering serious injuries but managing to crawl along the aisle, comforting terrified passengers and telling them to stay down. Jane Satotomita was also thrown against the cockpit door, suffering a severe head injury. In the cockpit, Captain Schornsteimer and First Officer Tompkins were fighting for their lives and the lives of everyone on board. The explosive decompression had violently snapped the captain's head back. When he looked over at Mimi Tompkins, he saw blue sky where the first-class ceiling should have been. The cockpit door had been blown off, and the noise was deafening, like a freight train roaring past their ears. They couldn't hear each other, or air traffic control. All the warning lights on their control panel were lit up. The plane was banking violently from side to side, on the verge of going into an uncontrollable dive. This is where their incredible training and composure took over. Schornsteimer immediately took manual control of the aircraft. He had to fly the plane with raw inputs, wrestling with the controls to keep it stable. The damage was severe. The floor of the first-class cabin had buckled, and control cables running underneath were damaged and stretched. It was like trying to drive a car with loose steering. Tompkins, meanwhile, immediately began a rapid emergency descent, trying to get the plane down to a lower altitude where the air was breathable and warmer. The nearest airport was on the island of Maui, at Kahului. They had no way of knowing the true extent of the damage. They couldn't communicate with the cabin. All they knew was that the plane was severely compromised and they were losing altitude fast. They had to rely on hand signals to communicate. Tompkins managed to switch the radio to the emergency frequency and broadcast a mayday call. Air traffic controllers in Honolulu heard her frantic, broken transmission. "We're in an emergency. We're having a rapid depressurization. We're declaring an emergency. We're heading to Maui." As they descended, the pilots faced another critical problem. They had no idea if their landing gear would work. The system that indicates whether the gear is locked in place wasn't functioning. They had to perform a manual gear extension. They also worried about the structural integrity of the wings and nose. Would the plane hold together for a landing? They decided to approach the runway at a higher speed than normal to maintain control, which would make stopping on the shorter runway at Maui even more challenging. Back in the cabin, the passengers were clinging to their seats, praying. They were exposed to the open sky, the wind tearing at them. But amidst the chaos, there was also incredible courage. Michelle Honda, despite her own injuries, crawled up and down the aisle, holding onto people's hands, reassuring them, and telling them how to brace for impact. Passengers helped each other, holding on to those who were being battered by the wind. They could see the ground getting closer and closer, not knowing if they were about to crash. As Flight 243 approached Kahului Airport, emergency crews were scrambling into position. From the ground, the sight was unbelievable. A witness described it as looking like a convertible. No one believed a plane in that condition could possibly land safely. First Officer Tompkins handled the final approach. Captain Schornsteimer managed the throttles. They had to be perfectly coordinated. A normal landing was out of the question. They came in fast and hard. As the wheels touched the tarmac, the pilots slammed on the brakes and deployed the reverse thrusters. The damaged aircraft shuddered and screeched down the runway. After what felt like an eternity, the crippled Boeing 737 finally came to a stop. Silence, then applause and cheers erupted from the cabin. They had made it. They were alive. Emergency crews rushed to the plane, stunned at the sight. Of the 95 people on board, 94 had survived. 65 passengers and crew members were injured, 8 of them seriously. But against all odds, a catastrophe had been averted. The investigation that followed revealed the chilling cause of the accident: metal fatigue. The constant pressurization cycles had created widespread, microscopic cracks along the rivet lines of the plane's aluminum skin. The type of adhesive used to bond the fuselage panels together had lost its effectiveness over time, allowing moisture to get in and corrode the metal. This phenomenon, known as multi-site damage, was not well understood at the time. The NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, concluded that Aloha Airlines' maintenance program was inadequate and had failed to detect the extensive cracking. The miraculous survival of Aloha Airlines Flight 243 became a pivotal moment in aviation history. It was a terrifying wake-up call for the entire industry. As a direct result of this incident, aviation authorities launched a massive program to reassess the safety of aging aircraft. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, mandated sweeping changes in maintenance procedures and inspection requirements for older planes. New research was funded to better understand and detect metal fatigue. The lessons learned from Flight 243 led to significant improvements in aircraft design, construction, and maintenance protocols that have made flying safer for all of us today. The crew of Flight 243 were hailed as heroes. Captain Schornsteimer and First Officer Tompkins, along with the surviving flight attendants, were honored for their extraordinary airmanship and bravery. They didn't just fly a plane, they held it together through sheer skill and determination, performing one of the most remarkable landings in history. Their story is a testament to the importance of pilot training, crew coordination, and the human spirit's ability to triumph in the face of unimaginable disaster. Every time we step onto a plane, we are safer because of the lessons learned from that fateful day over Hawaii, and the incredible crew who refused to give up. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating events. Let me know in the comments what other stories you'd like to see covered. Until next time, stay curious.